died. But you're here. Gods, am I glad to see you.
Ach so, ja.
I'll keep trying. But there's not much to be done for Fort Northreach.
Ich glaube, der versucht, was in den Büchern herauszufinden, oder? Über die Seuche. Also nehmen wir mal all seine Bücher mit, damit er das gar nicht machen kann. Oh, wer bist du denn?
Envoy, hello. I'm glad to see you on your feet. Kai.
Tej.
I'm surprised they let you in here.
I'm surprised you're still gainfully employed.
Gibt es hier ein Problem?
I didn't mean anything by it, Envoy. He's just curious company for you to keep.
Hey, somebody has to have the envoys back, because you all sure didn't.
No one expected the Envoy to get assassinated.
Exactly. Amateurs.
Ich denke, da steckt noch mehr dahinter.
Well,
Kai?
come on, it's funny. Tej caused a ruckus last time he was slumming it at the Ballarrock. You were trying to kill a man, if I remember right. I had to put you outside.
You threw me into the canal.
You lived.
That water's filthy. I had the runs for 3 days.
Gods, Tej. The envoy doesn't need to know that.
Ich habe im Feldzug schon Schlimmeres erlebt. Es gibt immer jemanden im Lager, der mit der Latrine vermählt ist.
Yeah, but now you'll never think of Tej the same way again, will you? And now he'll never think of you the same way either.
Let's not make more of it than it was. I shouldn't have said anything.
Hast du wirklich versucht, jemanden umzubringen, Tej?
The fellow cheated me. I couldn't let that slide. Or he'd think we were all marks.
It was over a dice game, right? Tej here has a gambling problem.
Great. Let's air all my troubles. Is there anything else?
The bartender sleeping with your girlfriend.
You're lying.
You sure about that?
We'll talk about this later.
I'm not breaking up with her for you. Just so we're clear.
That's more than enough. Thank you. Was there anything I could help you with, Envoy?
Was für ein Arsch. Komm schon, Tej, du willst Kai nicht die Stirn bieten?
The 7-foot-tall Almaua with biceps the size of my head? No, I am not.
Flatterer. You know I'm barely over 6.5.
Wie wär's, wenn du mir ein paar Fragen beantwortest, Tej?
Naturally, sir. How can I help you?
Wieso ist Ludwin in der Stadt? Ich dachte, sie wäre tot.
Inquisitor Ludwin is the commander of the Steel Garrote in Paradise. Were you to ask her, she'd say she keeps the peace. But she doesn't keep it so much as prosecute it. As ruthlessly as the ambassador will let her. She's also a veteran of the Steel Garrote's campaign in the Deathfire, where she died.
She's a Death Guard. Well, that explains a lot.
I don't know what happened to her there, but I suppose Wodeka wasn't done with her yet.
Hat sie mich jemals erwähnt?
Has she ever mentioned you? Except, no. Wait. The morning after the ambassador received word you'd been dispatched, I heard the Inquisitor tell her captain that an old friend would visit soon. That couldn't have been you, could it?
The envoy here has depths you would not believe.
We are living in the strangest of all possible times.
Was weißt du über die Stahlgarotte?
Think upon your promises and die. That's the litany of the Steel Garrote, usually said right before they kill you. They're an order of paladins born and bred in Aedyr, though clearly they've found plenty of work beyond our borders. Their remit is simple but comprehensive. They punish all who break their oaths. In practice, that has historically meant contracts. One lord or merchant will hire the Steel Garrote to bring a duplicitous rival to justice.
Fun bunch. What are they doing in Paradise?
Since the events in the Deadfire, their operations have expanded. The Steel Garrote has always been associated with Wodeka. Now, they are explicitly her order. And they go wherever Wodeka's priests, or Wodeka herself, believes there is a need for them to go. The Living Lands are a dangerous, lawless frontier in sore need of order. Thus, they are here. Or so the Steel Garrote say.
Wodeka, Göttin der Vergeltung. Litwin hat sich eine anspruchsvolle Schutzpatronin ausgesucht.
Do you think so? I've always found her inflexibility comforting. Wodeka's edicts are clear. If you obey her laws, pursue justice, punish the guilty, and give fealty to the Emperor, then you have pleased her, and I aim to please. But Wodeka does not trust. She demands that you declare yourself for her again and again. Her every request is a test, and her every test is an opportunity to disappoint her. I appreciate a god who makes you work for their grace. I don't want anything given to me for free.
Ich würde dich gerne etwas anderes fragen.
By all means.
Ich sollte mich mit einem Wächter treffen, aber ich weiß gar nichts über sie. Kannst du mich aufklären?
I trust whomever told you to consult a watcher also told you to avoid the one in the city. She is a liar and a thief.
Oh, did you take your money?
No. Anyway, watchers are individuals capable of perceiving souls. The soul may be in a living body, or it may simply be lingering, waiting to pass into the in-between. In either case, interacting with a soul allows a watcher to glimpse a person's past lives or their most deeply buried memories. Watchers are incredibly rare, and in Aedyr, highly controlled. Many people wish to know who they were in a previous life, and do not like what they learn.
Was passiert mit Wächtern in Aedyr?
The smart ones stay hidden. They do not announce their powers. Perhaps not even to themselves. Even a careful watcher risks inadvertently revealing themselves by knowing something they shouldn't know. Of the ones that are public, little is concretely known. But we hear things. They make good judges in Wodeka's courts, so long as they're controlled. The lords, it's rumored, buy and sell them to collect blackmail on their enemies. But I suspect many watchers are imprisoned or executed, or simply kill themselves.
Sind Wächter gefährlich?
A watcher doesn't need your cooperation or consent to read your soul. They could learn everything about you, terribly damaging things about your parentage, for example, or things you did in a past life, without you ever knowing. You see how this could threaten the established order, undermine our betters' right to rule.
Yeah, but that's just one side to it. Imagine how a watcher feels, knowing what a threat they are to the status quo. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be keen on kings and emperors wanting me dead. Sounds like a lot of hassle.
Don't sell yourself short, Kai. I don't doubt you're an expert in people wanting you dead.
You're not wrong.
I rarely am. In any case, the Watcher is fundamentally a tragic figure. Of the few that survive our world, most are destined to go mad.
Könnte ich zu einem Wächter werden?
Yes and no. So far as I understand it, a Watcher is born a Watcher. But it takes an event, often something shocking or traumatic, to bring a Watcher's powers to the fore. So you may be a Watcher, or I may be, or Kai, and we might not even know.
Gibt es berühmte Wächter, die ich kennen sollte?
Well, the Watcher of Cadnua is legendary. It was their castle Aethys destroyed when he began his campaign of terror in the Dead Fire. Oh, by the Queen, I hope I get to meet them someday. In terms of local interest, you'll have heard of Runid, of course. And there was Ida. You may not know about her. She was a watcher from the living lands. I believe she was an Orlan. She must have died, 150 years ago. Slain by a great serpent, gods treat kindly with her soul. Doubtless there are others, but most don't meet a good end.
Ich würde dich gerne etwas anderes fragen.
Of course.
Das hatten wir doch schon. Du bist der Sekretär des Botschafters. Wie ist er so?
Well, you'll notice I'm nearly always here. If that man sleeps, I don't know about it. He wouldn't say, but I believe he relied on the claviger far more than he lets on. And without the claviger's steady hand at the rudder, the ambassador's struggling just to bail water from the sinking ship that is Paradise.
Claviger Aemon might have tolerated a little more chaos than the ambassador liked, but he kept this place humming. He's not someone you can easily replace, and not with one man alone.
It's a difficult job. The pressure sometimes gets the better of him. But if he loses his temper now and then, I can't blame him for it. Better him than me.
Wie ist es so, wenn er nicht arbeitet?
He doesn't know what to do with himself. You know, in our first days here, he'd often walk to the end of the docks at sunrise. The work was done, the embassy was closed, and he'd still be wearing the same clothes he'd slept in at his desk. And he'd just stare out over the sea. He always seemed dissatisfied back then. I suppose, years later, he still does.
Willst du seinen Job nicht?
Be serious. Most of us here didn't get sent to the frontier because we were anybody's favorite. The longer I'm here, the more likely the people who matter are to forget me. And I'd actually like to get back to High Crown someday. Get married, have a few kids, take the civil exams, and settle into a permanent clerkship.
I guess there are worse ways to spend a life.
Like rotting in this embassy. I'm an open book.
Ich würde Paradise gern besser verstehen.
What would you like to know?
Wann wurde diese Stadt gegründet? Wer lebt hier?
If you're looking for a particular year, the first thing you should know about Paradise is that this isn't the kind of place where the locals keep records. And though it might be considered a distant backwater by the rest of the world, this city is the height of civilization by the standards of the living lands. As for who calls this place home, I suspect you could find a criminal, confidence man, or prophet from every civilization in the world here.
Hey, come on. You're gonna give the envoy the wrong idea. We've got draft dodgers, courtesans, and revolutionaries, too. You know, all the fun people.
In any event, as far as I can tell, Paradise has been this way since its inception. Thus the eclectic display of architectural styles. If nothing else, this city is a reflection of the countless people who have passed through it on their way to the interior.
Was sind Aedyrs Absichten in Paradise?
Depends on who you ask. Ambassador Heelgard will tell you that our remit here is to establish a secure and orderly environment from which to engage in trade. Inquisitor Ludwig will tell you we're here to break the frontier.
So, which is it?
Why not both?
Ich höre gar nichts von der Traumgeißel.
That's where you come in. Whether you find your desires aligning with the ambassadors or the inquisitors, neither can succeed until the dream scourge is ended. We are only beginning to see its effects here in Dawnshore, but the closer to the center of the island you go, the worse it gets. That bear you and the ambassador encountered in the Strangle Route isn't even the worst of it. And the tide of this soul plague is rising higher every day.
Wie stehen die Paradisianer zu uns?
Look, for all that I complain about this backwater, there are good people here. Same as anywhere else. People who want to be able to walk to the market in the morning for their bread and eggs and know they won't be mugged. People who like it when the mail comes on time, and their skates are made from real copper, and their neighborhood peeping Tom ends up in the stocks. Those people, good and honest people, who pay their debts and honor their contracts and remember to thank the gods, they like us a lot.
Erzähl mir von den Leuten, die mich töten wollen.
The Resistance, as such, are largely a group of misfits and criminals intent on undermining the rule of law. They take out loans with small Aedyr and banking houses and do not pay them, then assault the bankers who attempt to collect. They agree to contracts with families in Aedyr seeking homes, and when their ships arrive, promptly abandon them. When we levy a small tax to fund the repair of city roads, they set our counting house on fire. And when our fishermen return to port, they board their ships and sink them.
That's certainly one way to characterize them. It's not exactly wrong, but it's not exactly right either.
For decades, people like them ruled this city through fear. We imposed order, and now they oppose us. You, unfortunately, were caught in the crossfire. Of course.
Der Kaiser hatte keine Zeit, mich über das Land der Lebenden aufzuklären. Was sollte ich wissen?
There's a lot of ground to cover. Could you be more specific?
Wie sieht das Land der Lebenden auf einer Karte verglichen mit Aedyr aus?
Ah, the age-old question. Who's bigger? Aedyr is, naturally, by a wide margin. And were we at the Cartographers Guild in High Crown, I could show you on one of their globes. As it is, we must make do in the theater of our minds.
Wo liegt das Land der Lebenden verglichen mit Aedyr?
The Living Lands are located in the far north of Eora. Aedyr is southwest of the Living Lands, situated along the equator.
Und wie ist das Wetter dort? Das Gelände? Ich muss wissen, was mich erwartet.
The Living Lands are more arid than Aedyr, and the island is more prone to storms. But its many deep valleys protect the various townships from the worst of the weather. Topographically speaking, the Living Lands are a place of extremes. Deep inland, mountains rise high enough to rival those of the White March, blanketed year-round in snow. While east of the volcano of Mount Forja is an acid sea that sinks far below the level of the ocean. The lands between them are riven with deep clefts in the earth and isolated by wastelands of sun-baked sand dunes.
Ein Säuresee?
I'll share what I can.
Wer herrscht hier?
There is no singular authority in the Living Lands.
Not yet, anyway.
I shudder to think what the Living Lands would look like under your rule.
Well, to start, there'd be a lot more brothels.
Charming. Power is invested in the leaders of the various townships scattered across the island. The largest are Fjord, Thirdborn, and Solace. None of which, I will note, are as safe and orderly as Paradise.
Was sollte ich über Fjord wissen?
Fjord Messaverno is located in a valley known locally as the Emerald Stair, named for the terraced rice paddies that cover its hillsides. It is our closest neighbor. The city, if you can call it that, was founded 50 years ago by animancers from the Valian Republics. Apparently, the laws governing animancy weren't lenient enough in the Republics. So the city's founders came to the Living Lands, where they could practice their discipline more freely. Currently, Fjord is governed by a man named Ignacy Vidaro. Rather inept to hear the ambassador talk about him. Fjord's farmers supply most of the grain and vegetables we eat here in Paradise. Or it did. Their shipments have been infrequent lately. Something about a blight in the fields. In any event, I believe that covers Fjord.
Ich weiß nicht viel über die Vailianischen Republiken. Scheinbar wissen wir gar nichts. Wir sind ein toller Gesandter.
The Valian Republics are a collection of city-states in the Eastern Reach, southeast of our former colony, the Deerwood. The republics began life as colonies of the Grand Empire of Valia, hence the name. But as Grand Valia's economy collapsed, well, the colonies saw an opportunity to escape the influence of the Empire of Origin, and they seceded, much as the Deerwood did from Aedyr. Now a mature confederation in their own right, the Republics have recently indulged their own expansionist ambitions in the Deadfire Archipelago. Through their merchants in the Valian Trading Company, the Republics will sell you anything you could ever wish to buy.
Up to and including people.
We should count ourselves lucky they've had no interest in the living lands. In a struggle between our Emperor and the Republic's great dukes, well, I doubt we would come out on top. But if anyone asks, I was not the one who told you that.
Was hat es mit Dreadborn auf sich?
Everything you need to know about Thirdborn is in its name. It was founded by the Thirdborn children of Rauatai, Navy dropouts, smugglers, and hands for hire. Almaua and Orleans, mostly.
Home, sweet home.
You're free to go back any time you like.
I like my current circumstances just fine, thanks.
They are people, in short, who couldn't cut it in the civilized world and had to make room on the margins. Unfortunately, they are currently besieged by the Dream Scourge. We have sent some troops to lend what help we can, and the mayor, Temerity, was appropriately grateful, but I don't know how long they'll hold out.
Ich wüsste gern mehr über Rauatai.
Rauatai is one of the old empires, every bit as storied as Grand Valia or our native Aedyr. If Aedyr is to the southwest of the Living Lands, Rauatai is to the southeast. And unlike our home, their small continent is racked by terrible storms. This is due, or rather, was due, to the island's proximity to Andra's mortar, the unending super hurricane that once hid the ancient city of Ukaizo. Rauatai is largely peopled by Almaua, descended from those who fled the Deadfire Archipelago centuries ago, when Andra pulled the moon, Ioni Brather, into the sea. They are an aggressive, militant culture, and personally I find their obsession with gunpowder rather quaint. They are also our chief rivals on the world stage.
I don't think they see it that way.
No?
Well, as far as Navy brass is concerned, Aedyr doesn't really rate.
Now you're just making things up.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but we don't think about you at all.
Was kannst du mir über Trostal erzählen?
Solace is, what is there to say, really?
Yeah, they tend to have that effect on people.
The trouble is, I don't know much about Solace. Nobody does. They are an isolationist community of Pargrunan dwarves who live in the forbidding ways of Galawain's tusks. They don't let outsiders into their lands, and they don't let their people out of them.
Some folks get out from time to time, but they can't ever go back. And the ones who survive aren't eager to talk about their experiences.
People aside, the land itself is incredibly hostile. The island's volcano, Mount Forja, rests at the heart of the region, and it's recently become active. Half the land is lava rock, and the other half is, well, literally lava. I don't know why anyone lives there. I have to assume they're all insane.
You have no idea.
Nun, kannst du mir etwas über die Pargrun-Zwerge erzählen?
Naturally. The Pargrunan are a unique community of mountain dwarves originating in Old Valia. As a people, they've made their name as explorers, builders, miners. No doubt you've seen their ruins in your travels, here, back home in Aedyr, and all across the world. They maintain a rich tradition of oral storytelling, chanted magics, and ritual carving, which they take great pains to record and transmit across their various communities. Even the most physically isolated Pargrun is not alone. Somewhere, one of their people is thinking of them and planning an expedition. Abidan must cherish them.
You sound like you admire them.
I suppose I do.
Was für ein Gespräch, ey. Dann hauen wir.
Should you ever need me, I will be here. Safe travels, envoy.
Meine Fresse, der kann labern. Ach, das haben wir alles schon. Ich habe schon total vergessen, wo ich eigentlich bin.
Is it really you?
Ja, reden wir weiter.
I can't can't believe you're alive. When they dragged you to Liviana's clinic, I assumed the worst. How do you feel?
Desorientiert, benommen, mein Puls rast. So wild wie ein Drache in der Brunft. Tja, ich habe überlegt, ein Boot zurück nach Aedyr zu nehmen. Na, nein? Wo bin ich denn da entschlossen? Ich nehme das. So wild wie ein Drache in der Brunft.
Not even death can slow you down, I see. But we'll return to the topic of your untimely demise shortly. Our first order of business is your purpose here in the Living Lands. You said you had a missive for me from the Emperor?
Ihm das Sendschreiben des Kaisers geben. Bitte sehr, Botschafter.
Very good. I'm eager to see what our Emperor intends. Now, His Majesty names you a loyal servant of the Aedyran Empire, and an extension of the throne's authority. Thank goodness. At least someone understands the gravity of our situation.
Großartig, die Nachricht wurde überbracht. Sprechen wir über meine Bezahlung.
Here's something to tide you over. But your
Was?
work isn't finished just yet. You've seen how wild the Living Lands has become, both in nature and in politics. Sometimes I think the island has a mind of its own. No sooner had you arrived than you found yourself at the center of our troubles.
Du beziehst dich darauf, wie ich den Adra eine Würgerwurzel gehalten habe.
Well, not to mention your abrupt and untimely death. This embassy has no shortage of political foes, but the dream scourge is what keeps me up at night. You've seen firsthand what it can do in nature. We can't let it reach the cities.
Ich finde heraus, was es mit der Traumgeißel auf sich hat, Botschafter, was auch immer dazu nötig ist.
Thank you, Envoy. The island is in capable hands. Inquisitor Ludwig thinks the plague is a distraction. She's more concerned about these local rebels fighting against the Empire.
Und du bist es nicht?
At least rebels know the meaning of negotiation and compromise. But a plague kills indiscriminately. Though, even I must admit, the rebels have gone too far. They've sabotaged our work, killed our soldiers, and the final straw, attacked you out in the open.
Sie müssen ein Motiv haben. Hass allein rechtfertigt das nicht.
I look forward to hearing about it in your report. I won't lie to you, Envoy. Our position is tenuous. If we can't even defend ourselves, how are we to defend the Living Lands? But defend it we must, for the sake of everyone who calls this island home. Inquisitor Ludwig demands that someone hang for the attempt on your life. These Paradisen rebels must face justice.
Wo ist Ludwig überhaupt? Ich muss mit ihr reden.
Ludwig goes where she likes, haunting the Living Lands like a vengeful spirit. She'll reappear when she chooses, and not a moment sooner. Let's make sure to give her some good news for a change.
Not many get a chance to solve their own murder, you know. I know someone who could help. A dwarven tracker named Marius. Kith or beast, there's little he can't find. He's staying at the Grinning Ballarrock, not far from Liviana's infirmary. We just take the main road east to the market, then head down the stairs and cross the canal. Rough part of town, even by the standards of Paradise.
Ein Fährtenleser? Kai, wir jagen keine Hirsche. Du hast dich bisher als fähig erwiesen. Was kann er, was du nicht kannst?
Blend in, for one thing. Marius is from the Tusks, about the harshest and remotest place the gods ever created, even by the standards of the Living Lands.
Trickery, lies. The gods did not build this place.
Let's just say no one survives out there without picking up a few skills, the kind we'll need if we're going to find hidden assassins. Especially if they're from the streets of Paradise.
I suggest you recruit as many allies as you can, but choose carefully. They, like you, will represent the Empire. But before we can send you off to parts unknown, we need assurances from the local healer that you're fully recovered. After all, you survived a brush with death. The health of your body is one thing. The health of your soul is another.
Liviana schlug vor, einen Wächter aufzusuchen.
An unusual course of treatment, but who am I to argue? Remember, the assassin is out there. You have the element of surprise. I suggest you use it.
Nicht, dass ich es nötig hätte.
I admire your confidence, but there's no point in being modest with our advantages. We'll talk more of the Dream Scourge when you return. Until then, Envoy.
How about we start with Marius at the Grinning Balrog? Besides, I could use a drink after all this.
Klingt nicht verkehrt. Dein Freund im Wald.
Hey, it's the Envoy!
Envoy, hey!
I swear, I owe you the world.
I own the world. He saved my life, remember?
Yeah, you only told me about 100 times.
Hey, where's Yeda? Is everyone else on their way?
Ich fürchte nein.
No. Oh, God. Does he mean...
They didn't make it, Offric. I'm sorry.
But you saved Cadman. You couldn't save them? Or you didn't try?
What happened?
Das Orakel hat ihnen die Seele aus den Leibern gerissen und sie in eine Statue gesteckt.
What?
They probably went quickly, if that helps.
I can't understand this.
Hey, Offric, hey, listen. We always knew that was a risk, right? And we told ourselves.
Better to go out at the bottom of the world or the top. And dying in bed like Granda, asking what if.
Did you avenge them? Is the Oracle dead?
Ich habe ihn getötet, keine Sorge.
At least they got justice.
And I got my brother back.
Don't be a baby. You would have been fine without me.
What I mean to say is, we're grateful, Envoy.
Wie geht es mit euch beiden weiter?
Ambassador Heelguard has written to Expedition Command back in High Crown to see if they'll let us come home.
Well, while we wait for their reply, I thought...
Wait. Let me guess. Mermaid's Den.
You told him?
It was a moment of weakness. I thought I was dead. Oh, that reminds me. I wanted to give you this. It belonged to our grandfather. He'd always wanted to join the Corps, but life got in the way. When we were recruiting, he gave it to us to remind us to live well.
Ich werde es in Ehren halten.
Well, I'm sure you've got big Envoy things to do.
I don't know if you heard, but there's a plague on and everything.
If you're ever in High Crown, look us up.
Yeah, we can drink to the Corps together.
Wird gemacht. Passt auf euch auf, ihr beiden.
I wish things had turned out
Stimmt,
better for the
finde ich
rest of
irgendwo
their
ja.
crew, but I'm glad they made it. One of them may even get a happy ending. Wouldn't want their diplomats going hungry or sober.
Ich schätze, wir werden jetzt noch ein bisschen in der Stadt bleiben, oder?
I wouldn't go up there, stranger. That's Sparrowhawk territory. Hail. I take it you're new to these parts? If so, you're going to want to heed my advice. Up these stairs is the Pearl District. Ever since the Sparrowhawks took over, it's become a right deadly place.
Inwiefern gehen mich diese Sperber etwas an? Wer sind sie?
A group of smugglers. Vicious killers, the lot of them, as far as I'm concerned.
Verstanden. Danke für die Warnung.
Watch out for their leader. He's a big, mean bastard, that one.
Big? No offense, but I've eaten chickens bigger than you.
Says you, fish man. Can you believe the cheek on that one?
Ich gehe jetzt.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
Ja, ja. Ich mach das schon.
Aedyrians ain't welcome around the Pearl District. Mind yourself.
God, got a real ugly mug.
Schmeckt's?
Smile, and you break it, you buy it.
Das
Wonder
sieht
who
nicht
he
so gut aus.
crossed. Doesn't take much out here. Those are the papers the Aedyran refugees are waiting for.
Und jetzt greifen die uns alle an.
This is the Sparrowhawks district. State your business.
Mit dem Fingerknaller. Ich gehe, wohin ich will, aus dem Weg. Entschlossenheit, du lungerst doch hier rum. Sag doch mal, was du hier willst.
Go on. But remember, Thal's got his eye on you. I wouldn't get on an ogre's bad side.
Sieht cool aus. Also so, ihr ganzes Auftreten, die Farbkombination, hat was.
Let's leave them alone. They look worried for someone.
Best watch your step around here, envoy. This is my district.
So, the puny godkin wishes to speak with the great Thala. You and your countrymen are not welcome in this district. My district. Is that clear?
Ein Augenbraue heben. Warum lässt man mich dann überhaupt hier rumlaufen?
Not being welcome here doesn't mean you aren't tolerated. We're not fools enough to attack you or your kin unprovoked. I would be lying if I said I wasn't just waiting for the opportunity to crush you into the ground. One little slip in my district, Imperial Lapdog, and it'll be the last you ever make.
Für dich immer noch Herr kaiserliches Schoßhündchen.
So the little godkin has a spine. Good. Ripping it from your body will be a pleasure most exquisite. Now be gone. Thala tires of your yammering.
Ich glaube, ich werde noch früh genug gegen ihn kämpfen.
Let us in, sweetheart.
I told you, we're closed.
Not for us, you're not.
What's a man gotta do to get his needs met around here?
If you think we'll roll over after you steal from us.
That's exactly what I think.
Fine. Take it up with Juliana.
Oh, don't worry. We will.